Heaven knows how we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Do this part with me. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, UUCBV, or Brazos UU for short. My name is Gay Webb, and I am pleased to welcome Reverend Erin to our pulpit today. Beautiful job there, Erin. She is substituting, of course, for our now Reverend Kaya Reverend Erin was part of the ordination yesterday, and the part that I really loved at the very beginning was when the song was sung, you got up and started dancing. And it was just a fun and festive thing, even though I wasn't there. You guys can watch it on YouTube, on Facebook for the First UU Church Boston. Reverend Walter is the executive director of our Texas UU Justice Ministry organization, and her service today will tell us a little bit more about that. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientation and gender identities, and that is so important at this time. All people, I need to put my glasses on. I have them and then I forget them. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of age, race, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, and wherever you are on your life's journey, we welcome you here. I have one announcement, and that's regarding our Easter service. We will not be here at the Recreation Center because it will be closed. We will be at the Bee Creek Pavilion in College Station. I'm sure you can find that with Google Maps. Good morning.
Good morning.
Come on, let's do it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am just brimming with joy from the ordination of your minister, Reverend Kaya Hartwood. Can we cheer for that one more time? Even though Reverend Kaya isn't here, I want to thank her for her generosity of spirit as a friend and colleague and fellow musician. She has been wonderful to be in relationship all these years, as I also adore this congregation, and so I'm so excited for that relationship and just the years of shared ministry to come, and I know that will include lots of justice work. Those of you who are my friend on Facebook know that last month I had COVID, and so I want to reassure you that I'm well out of my window. I've had a negative test, and I will be wearing my mask nonetheless when I'm not speaking. It's very important to me that we take care of each other. Our words this morning for call to worship come from Shelter in This Place, Meditations on 2020, edited by UU Minister Meg Riley, from our denominational publisher Skinner House Books. If you ever need a good read, just go to the Skinner House website. We have incredible written word in our tradition. So this one comes from Reverend Daniel Cantor, the minister of First Unitarian Church of Dallas, one of your fellow members of the Justice Ministry. It's called The Shores of Hope. Arriving on these shores of hope, abandon your cynicism, your despair, your short view of humanity, and look up and see that we are not alone in our separateness. We are not forsaken or forlorn. We can be each other's dreams, unrestrained by desperation. We can see beyond the horizon of setbacks and defeat, and know that others have journeyed farther than we have. They have seen so much and not lost themselves to resignation. Arriving on these shores of hope, embrace the here and now, the blessings and the presence of holy matters. Here and now, we are together and stronger for it. Whether you are forlorn or uplifted, let us together enter worship as if it was a new manner, a new day, a new chance at life. And what better way to underscore a new day and a new chance at life than to have a family with a baby enter the room in that moment. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Now, if you would join me with the words for lighting our chalice, which should be on the screen. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning that we share together. And now our affirmation statement. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now let's stand as you are willing and able to sing our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Here we go.
Rejoice
And come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Open your ears to the song.
Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Open your hearts, everyone.
Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Now my all-time favorite, don't be afraid of the change.
Don't be afraid of the change.
Oh,
Don't be afraid of the change.
no. Everybody.
Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
All right. You know, some of you know I'm a Zumba teacher. Never be afraid to shake those hips in church either. Thank you to our musicians.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to see all of you. You know it's a good Sunday when we have to pull out extra chairs. Love to see it. Before I do our time for all ages today, I have two announcements. The first announcement is that our children's RE class, cartoons, will be on Wednesday night at the Fun for All playground at 5:15. So if you are not on my email list and you would like an email reminder, find me later. Secondly, our Easter egg toss. Okay, so on Easter, we're gonna be at the Bee Creek Pavilion, right? We are having an egg toss, but it's not just any normal egg toss, where you usually drop an egg off of a tall surface and build something and see if you can make it not break the egg. Our own Reverend Kaya will be launching eggs using a board off of a picnic table, kind of like a catapult, and we're gonna see who can build something to keep that egg safe. So it's more like an egg launch. So that's my second announcement. So be thinking about if you want to build with your families, adults you can build something, friends you can build together, but that will be happening at our Easter service. All right, so we're here in April. It's Earth Month. Yay! It's a time when we think deeply about how we interact with and are connected to our Earth. Some of us may even change our behaviors to be a little bit more friendly to our planet. We do have a church-wide eco challenge going on right now, so if you don't know how to sign up for it and you want to, you can find me or Jerry. Can you raise your hand? Jerry, during coffee hour. Some people who love the environment so much might call themselves a tree hugger. Have you heard that term before? Raise your hand if you've heard the term tree hugger. Oh, good. Okay. But who were the original tree huggers? Let's find out. Our Time for All Ages today is from the Bishnoi people of Rajasthan, India, and it's retold for a younger audience by Beth Chronister. It's called Amrita's Tree. Amrita sat and leaned against her tree. She loved her tree and had from the first day she claimed it as her own. Amrita often talked to her tree, sharing her dreams and secrets, but today was so peaceful. She just sat in silence with her eyes closed. Help! Amrita was startled by the shrill warning call of the peacock. It echoed through the forest. As animals fled in response, Amrita heard men marching toward her. She looked in the direction of the sound and saw flashes of sunlight off of metal. The men were carrying axes. Cut down every tree you can, the chief woodcutter said. The king needs new wood for his palace. Amrita could not believe it. They were going to cut down the forest. She ran as fast as she could back to her village. Mother, mother, she called. There are men in the forest with axes, and they are going to cut down the trees. Amrita's mother rushed around the village, calling all women and children away from their work and play. We must save the trees, she urged. The women and children ran into the forest. Amrita's mother tried to greet the woodcutters politely. I see. Her little smile, I'm sorry. There's the cutest little baby smile going on over here. It's so adorable. Okay. Amrita's mother greeted the woodcutters politely. Hello, we don't want trouble, but we cannot let you cut down those trees. The chief woodcutter laughed at her. You don't own these trees. We have orders from the king. Sir, these trees are our life, Amrita's mother explained. Their roots hold the soil together during our monsoons and soak up the rain so the earth can give us fresh water. Don't you understand? We need these trees to survive. Quiet, yelled the chief woodcutter, and he ordered his men to start cutting down the trees. One woodcutter went to an ancient kajiri tree and began chopping with his axe. The mighty tree came crashing to the ground. Amrita and the others cried out in disbelief. They were going to kill all of the trees. The woodcutter spread out and began cutting down other trees. Then a woodcutter walked past Amrita in the direction of her special tree. Amrita ran ahead of him and yelled, "No!" She flung her arms around her tree. "If you want to cut the tree, you'll have to cut me first." "Swing your axe," commanded the woodcutter. Another woodcutter faltered. He looked down at the girl, this mere sapling of a child, her eyes squeezed shut, her thin arms hugging so tight, her tear-stained cheeks pale with fright. I can't. Amrita opened one eye and then the other. All around her, women and children began hugging trees. Without a word, the laborers picked up their axes and left. Amrita and the others returned to the village, grateful that the men had stopped, but they worried that the king would now come. The next afternoon, the king did come. Amrita, though she was afraid, greeted him like she was a forest queen. He climbed down from his horse. "I present this royal decree to you, Amrita," said the king, "and to the women and children of your village, in honor of your courage and your wisdom. I promise that from this day forward, no tree in this forest will be cut down. This is the power and blessing of reverence for life. Amrita's tree still stands in that forest." So this story, although it was adapted for a younger UU audience, is based on real events from 1730. Amrita Devi was her name, and she gave her life for Kajiri trees and went on to inspire an environmental movement in India in the 1970s, which led to the end of commercial logging in her region. So let's carry the memory of Amrita in our hearts this week and be inspired by the original tree huggers to show up for environmental justice. So please join with me as we sing our kiddos out to religious education. I'll meet you in the hallway.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. During the months of April, May, and June, we will be donating to the Pride Community Center. Purposes of the Pride Community Center is to educate the public about sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, to advocate for civil rights under law and social equality for the community, to provide resources like cultural services, emotional support, mental health services, health information and avenues for personal growth to enhance self-esteem, to strive to eliminate prejudice and discrimination against the community, and develop outreach programs promoting a harmonious relationship between the community and the citizens of Brazos Valley. The Pride Community Center intends to create a safe space for the community to assemble for the above-cited purposes, free of discrimination, violence, taunting, and fear. Please be as generous as you can. Pass it around because we'll be online. It's going to have to go over here afterwards. We give thanks for these gifts we have been given, and for those of you who have given your gifts to us and for each other. May your generosity be returned tenfold.
May I add to that my blessings on you as givers and on your gifts. Now is our time for joys and concerns, one of the many rituals and experiences that tie us to our Unitarian Universalist siblings all around the world. Today, there are people all around the world, and especially around our continent, in Unitarian Universalist churches and congregations, sharing what is deepest, truest on their hearts with each other, and that is a powerful thing. So my understanding is that the way you've been doing it is that you're invited to come forward and share on the microphone and light one of these candles. I'll go first, and please come forward and share something that's on your heart and mind. May your joys be amplified and your burdens be divided as we share them. I'm lighting my candle this morning, asking for healing prayers for loved ones with cancer and Parkinson's.
I'm lighting a candle for a joy for our pizza party after service today. We had about 20 people sign up. We ordered enough pizza for 30. So hopefully everybody can come and help us eat all the pizza. And if we need more, we'll go get more. But we've got board games, we've got play sets. We're gonna be right outside here, the little pavilion area. So if anybody wants to stay, we'd love to hang out with you. Joy for community.
I'm lighting a candle today for myself and my husband, John, as he, I'm trying to light it. As we continue through his struggle with Alzheimer's disease, as some of you know, we're in a very difficult time. I've had to leave home and leave him alone, and as we're searching for the best way to care for him as we continue this journey. And I'm so grateful for everybody's kindness and the people that have brought food and spent time with him in our home and giving us that love and support. It means a lot to me. He wonders why everybody's bringing him food. I say it's because we love him. And I have asked for people to do that because I love him as well.
I'm also going to light a candle for the joy of being back in person with you for the first time in maybe 3 years. And to see a congregation that was about half kids is incredible. Incredible. Such an amazing sign for you. And so I have a joy in my heart about that. One more for the joys, sorrows, and concerns that may remain in the sanctuary of our hearts. May they still be lifted up. May the burdens still be lessened by our presence together. So, around the state, around the world, many folks gathered yesterday and throughout the week for Transgender Day of Visibility, which I'd say joyfully really became a week of visibility since the date fell midweek. But there was a rally yesterday at the Capitol, and I want to share with you for our prayer this morning a prayer from Reverend Teresa Ninom Soto, who is a trans UU minister and a great leader in our faith who serves First Unitarian Church of Oakland, California. Our friend, our creator and source, we come to you with words of grief, but also silent rage. We know that you have made us and called us. We are trans and we are holy. We are intersex and we are sacred. We are gender diverse and we are divine. We know that justice is always on the side of the oppressed. Stay on our side now. Creator, call your people to this place. Remind them. This government may try to find ways to outlaw our existence. Help us to lift up that higher law, the truth that each and all of us exist as a complete expression of humanity. And help us both to heal and to rise. A people marked by difference, but chosen by ourselves and each other to be known, to be recognized, beloved and belonging, Unitarian Universalists. We are trans and we are holy. We are intersex and we are sacred. We are gender diverse and we are divine. For all these things, we give thanks and say, Amen. In that spirit, I invite you to rise for our hymn, How Could Anyone? Body or spirit, it's your choice, or both.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Thank you. How deeply we are connected.
Our reading today is To Change the World Enough by Alice Walker. To change the world enough, you must cease to be afraid of the poor. We experience your fear as the least pardonable of the humiliations. In the past, it has sent us scurrying off, daunted and ashamed, into the shadows. Now, the world, the only one all of us have known, we seek the same fresh light you do, the same high place and ample table. The poor always believe there is room enough for all of us. The very rich never seem to have heard of this. In us, there is wisdom of how to share loaves and fishes, however few. We do this every day. Learn from us, we ask you. We enter now the dreaded location of Earth's beckoning, no longer far off or hidden in books that claim to disclose revelations. It is here. We must walk together without fear. There is no path without us.
I feel a shaking in myself when singing How Could Anyone, when hearing the words of Alice Walker about that reckoning and who we should be paying attention to. And I'm grateful for a place like this, where we can come and hopefully quake a little bit together, be about it together, week after week, in a world that doesn't offer a lot of places for that. And I used to tell people, my fellow musicians who were parents, the church is the one place where you could go and get live music in the daytime, all the time. There's so many things about church that I love, but most of all, I just love to be back here with you. So thank you again for having me, and to Reverend Kaya for the invitation. Thank you to Jerry for bringing the Justice Ministry sign right in front of me. I love it, I love it. So I'm here today for the first time representing the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry as the new minister and executive director. So I'm going to talk with you about that. I do want to thank Jerry Wagner and Pam Johnson, who are the representatives from this congregation to the Justice Ministry. Thank you for being a part of it for many years and for all you do. For those of you who don't know, the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry, or TXUUJM, if you would like a short version, TXUUJM is what we call the statewide action network of Unitarian Universalists in Texas. And there are about 25 or so statewide action networks around the country. Not every state has one, so we're very thankful to the work over the last 10 years. We're celebrating 10 years of our state action network this year. So we're very thankful for the grassroots leadership of people like Jerry, of members of this congregation who've given, of UUs around the state that said, we need a unifying voice of UU values in the public square, and made it happen. Now, I grew up at First UU in Austin, and when I was going there as a kid, I wasn't aware of it, but looking back now, not only were we on sort of a cul-de-sac of a dead-end street without a big sign, but we were behind an abortion clinic. We were not public-facing at all. And it's a joke among UUs that, many of our churches are on dead-end streets with no sign. And so I was also delighted to drive up and see your sign today and know that you're in a public place. But your justice ministry is part of that public-facing, telling the world Unitarian Universalists care deeply about justice. We exist. We are here to welcome you. One of the things that I did last month was to write a letter to the editor. And at first it was just a letter I was going to put in the newsletter. And then I thought, wait, I can put this out further. And one of our advisory council members, like Jerry, Sarah from Horizon UU in Carrollton, had put together a spreadsheet of all the letters to the editor, ways to send a letter to the editor in all of Texas. And I sat down and it took me 30 minutes. And I sent that to every newspaper. And it went, at least 10, all the major ones and some of the smaller ones. And so that's just an example of kind of what we're trying to get ourselves as UUs to think public square right now. Because there are some really loud faith voices that don't share our values in the public square. And whether you identify as an atheist or agnostic UU, a Christian or Buddhist or Hindu UU, and however you identify in terms of your beliefs, by being a part of this community, you are a person of faith. You believe in something. You have faith in something. And it is critical that we claim that mantle of people of faith and take that language of the sacred to say trans and non-binary kids and their families are sacred, and that we will put ourselves on the line. I loved the words in the story for all ages. If you want to cut the tree, you will cut me first. And that is what we have to be able to say. That if you are coming for my beloveds, that we know, how could anyone ever tell you how deeply you're connected to my soul, that we are all connected. And if you are coming for any one of us, you will have to go through me. And there are a lot of ways for us to show that. One of the silver linings of the pandemic is that we know now that you will have to go through me can take many, many forms. It can include people of all different abilities and ages. So you can submit your testimony to the Department of Family and Protective Services to say, no, you will not separate trans kids from their families. You can do that on the web. You don't have to drive to Austin and testify in that meeting. You can send your testimony via email, via a web form. You can call into meetings. There's a lot that you can do in a lot of different ways to say, I am putting myself between these oppressive forces and life. I'm putting myself between oppressive forces and justice to make sure that we continue to thrive. I want to tell you a story. Are any of you familiar with the Unitarian Universalist Viola Liuzzo? She's not a name that many people know. And I have a little bit of her story on my phone, though I have it memorized, but I want to get her words right when the time comes. So Viola Liuzzo lived from 1925 to 1965. She was a Midwestern Unitarian layperson and civil rights activist. So she was a member of her congregation, just like you. On March 8th, 1965, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. sent out this urgent telegram. It said, the people of Selma will struggle on for the soul of the nation, but it is fitting that all America help bear the burden. He said, I call therefore on clergy of all faiths, representative of every part of the country, to join me for a minister's march in Montgomery on Tuesday morning, March 9th. Now, King specifically called for clergy of all faiths, not people of all faiths. And at that time, when he was asking for a minister's march, ministers were almost all men. I didn't have a female role model in ministry until about, 12, 13 years ago when I met Reverend Meg Barnhouse in Austin, Kaya's partner. And that was a very powerful experience to see a female minister with a guitar. And now you all have that, which is amazing. But that really would have meant male ministers, what Dr. King was asking for. And yet, Viola Liuzzo heard the call too. She felt a deep call to address the suffering wrought by racism. Even though we don't know her name very much, she got in her car and she drove south. She was a wife and a mother. She was juggling domestic and parental responsibilities while going to college as an adult. She went to Selma for Dr. King's call, despite objections from her Catholic husband. So she was a new Unitarian actually, this was before the merger of Unitarians and Universalists. She was a new Unitarian, her husband objected, her community was not with her, she was just finding her way. So if there are any new UUs in this room, maybe you can identify a little bit. If there are any of you who have a partner or a family that's not UU, which I bet many of us do, you might be able to identify. And she came to Selma. She drove alone, and despite protest, wrote Mark Morrison Reed, one of our Unitarian Universalist historians, in his book, The Selma Awakening, and this is what she said. She told her husband, "It's everybody's fight. I need to go." She's a martyr of the civil rights movement. She was killed helping Black men make their way on the journey. An FBI informant killed her in Selma. And I lift up her name because she gave her life, the ultimate sacrifice. She said, "You will have to go through me." And I just want to remember her. And I want to invite us just to think about at this time in our country, in our state, when democracy is at risk, when our voting rights are being attacked, when our government is talking about separating families left and right, whether it be immigrant families at the border, whether it be mothers who are in prison, kept from their children through the prison industrial complex that amounts to modern day slavery. Whether it's this unbinding but still terrorizing opinion from Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton saying that gender affirming care for our children is child abuse. What are we willing to do? What are we willing to risk? It's scary. I'm a person of great joy orientation. If you need me to dance anywhere, I will go. I am ready. Dance and music are part of the joy practices of the Texas UU Justice Ministry, and I want you to know that we are having fun. And I invite you to have fun with us. And this is very, very serious and important work that we are called to do. And so what I'm asking of you today with the spirit of Viola with us, with all that is being asked of us as UUs, knowing that we are not alone, that we have people in state action networks all around the country, that we have congregations around our state, that you have Reverend Kaya, who is a passionate justice advocate, that you have Jerry, and you have Pam, and you have the leaders in your congregation. What I ask of you today is to ask, can you give an hour a week? Can you give $10 a month? What is the thing that feels good in you to give? And I'll tell you what some of these opportunities are right now with your justice ministry. Because while I am the half-time staff person, the one and only staff person of this statewide organization at this time, it's you. The justice ministry is you, the people and the congregations. And I wake up in the night thinking about how are we going to pay for this thing and how are we going to get enough people to do this thing. But I also trust the spirit of abundance among us and the spirit of generosity. So here's some opportunities for you to be part of this. Number one, we would love to have one of you be your congregational captain for Get Out the Vote postcard party. I am going to be writing a grant to the UU funding program, and every congregation is eligible through that program for $500 for Get Out the Vote postcards. Easy. Don't have to go anywhere. You just be the person who works with me to make sure that I get you the postcards and the postage that's already paid for. And then you invite your church, just like, what was your name who's having the pizza party?
Ivy.
Sorry?
Ivy.
Ivy, just like Ivy did, you'll get up here and you'll say, stay, we're gonna do postcards after church. And then you will knock out these Get Out the Vote postcards to help disenfranchised voters make sure they're on the rolls. So I need one volunteer for that, so be thinking about that. Then, starting April 14th, we are gonna be having weekly Zoom action hours. Do it from wherever, but do it in community. We will be Zooming together at 7 o'clock on Thursdays, and all we do is this. Myself and some of the other volunteers from the advisory council will gather a document that has the weekly action. And it's just, what are our partners asking of us? So for example, if the Transgender Education Network of Texas is asking us to email the Department of Family and Protective Services that week in support of trans kids, that's it. We sit there on Zoom together, we check in, we say hi, we see each other's faces like this, we play a little music in the background, and we email and we tell them, you're not getting those folks without coming through me. And we express our love for them and we put it in an email. And then every week we do a gratitude practice where we email someone to thank them for their work. So you might email, if there's an issue that you're passionate about, you might email the organization that's doing that work and just appreciate them. This is hard work that our grassroots frontline organizations are doing. And they're often led by the people who are being attacked, by the people who are immigrants, by the people who are Black, by the people who are queer. And to send them support is huge. So we're just gonna take 1 hour, one night a week, and we're gonna get together and we're gonna do something in community. And we're gonna get to know each other and we're gonna do it joyfully. And it's your chance to meet UUs from all around the state. So that's another thing that's coming. Third, we have a new program, and it's free, and it's just Monday nights in May. That's it. 4 Mondays and you're done. That's all you gotta commit to. It's an hour and a half, and it's called Being a Good Relative. And this relates to the environmental work that you were hearing about. It's about Indigenous solidarity, environmental justice, and how those intersect and relate to UU principles. So it's about how do we as a congregation go beyond what's called the land acknowledgement. You may sometimes do a land acknowledgement here where you acknowledge like, who are the original stewards of this land? Whose land was stolen? Beyond that, how can we be in relationship with the tribes of Texas authentically as Unitarian Universalists? And so it's a workshop that's going to be led with the UUSC, that's our UU Service Committee, the UU College of Social Justice, the UU Ministry for Earth, your State Justice Ministry, and the Carrizo Comocrudo Tribe of Texas. That's a tribe that is predominantly in South Texas, and we have a relationship with them, and they're gonna help facilitate this program. So it's Monday nights for an hour and a half for 4 weeks, but it's transformative, deep relational work around the environment and Indigenous solidarity. So there's only 40 spots total for the whole state. It is free, but I would love for each congregation to send 2 or 3 people, and then you can bring your learning back to the rest of the congregation. So those are some of the things. Postcard captain, weekly action hour starts in 2 weeks. Monday nights in May, Indigenous solidarity and environmental justice. Those are 3 options, okay? And then the other thing that I ask is just to think about that spirit of generosity. Can you become a sustaining giver to the organization? Even something small that's monthly helps us know what our capacity is, helps us strive toward hiring an organizer, helps us strive toward growing our capacity. And it would just be amazing to see all of your names in the PayPal every month and know that your support is coming our way. So I want to thank you all so much, and I also want you to know that we will be getting back to the Capitol. Have any of you been to the Capitol of TXUUJM before? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. Thank you so much. That's the other thing I want to say. To those of you who are already donors, to those of you who are already participating, thank you so much. And I also want to say to the elders among you, this is a hard time to see things like abortion rights, voting rights, to see so many things at risk that you fought so hard for. We know that the work of justice is never ending. We don't pretend we're going to do it all, and we're not going to do it all, and I'm not asking any of us to do it all, myself included. We're going to do our parts on this journey, and we're going to do it together, and it will be amplified. And I just want the elders to know we are never going to give up fighting for what you worked for civil rights, for human rights, for gender justice, never. So I know it's a scary time, but we are going to be fighting hard. And with that, I want to leave you. For those of you who know and love my predecessor and dear friend, the Reverend Chuck Freeman, who would lead us to the Capitol, and we will be back next year. Cross your fingers for no more big COVID surges, but we plan to be back at the Capitol, making our voices heard in the offices of our legislators, singing in the Capitol, singing. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom, singing Wo Ya Ya. Reverend Chuck, who I pray is healing every day. He's been going through an ongoing health struggle. These are some words that he preached a year ago to one of your fellow member congregations in Fort Worth, First Jefferson. He said, "You look at what happened in the last election in Arizona and Georgia. This wasn't a flash in the pan. This was the result of a decade or more of grassroots organizing. And Texas is on this path if we keep doing our work, and we will. The future will be determined by those who are focused, centered, organized, and mobilized for the values they hold dear. That will be us. The politically impossible will become the politically inevitable." I'm going to say that again because it's so important. The politically impossible will become the politically inevitable. I believe it in all my heart. I'm a native Texan. I've been an activist in this state all my life. We are so much more diverse, so much more committed to what's right than what some of our state leaders elected by racist gerrymandering would tell you Texas is. And so get out the vote efforts, and one by one conversations with your neighbors in towns like Bryan and College Station are what it's going to take to get it done. We are the ones who are going to get it done. Thank you so much, and I look forward to visiting with you more after church. From here we go to Come and Go. One of my favorites. I invite you to rise and body your spirits. Feel the legacy of our UU ancestors, our UU activists all around the state and the country, knowing that we will go together.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
You know there'll be freedom.
There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. Justice. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound.
Good job.
Now join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again. Blessed be. Join us in coffee hour.
For our benediction, as I've done so many times in the Brady Bunch squares of Zoom over the last 2 years, but I now get to do with you in person, I invite you to put out your hands and hold the hand. If you have someone next to you that you're in that, you're comfortable enough, they're comfortable enough. If not, you can imagine, feel it. Yeah, it's completely optional. All things by consent. All right, let's take a breath together. Spirit of life and love, of death and justice, of the circle of all things, I give thanks for this day. I give thanks for the shared ministry of this congregation, for the new chapters that are being written. I give thanks to show up together in the spirit of justice seeking, knowing that the pillars of our faith, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the inherent interconnected web of existence, as well as our burgeoning eighth principle for anti-racism and beloved community, that all of these things nourish and fortify us for what it is to be Unitarian Universalists, not just here, 1 hour a week, but out in the world all the time. A world that needs us, a world we love so much. May your hearts be lighter, may your spirits be determined. Go with love, go in peace. Blessed be. Thank you again for having me.